Hey everyone, welcome to another production podcast. This is part 3 of the epic trilogy on the Land of the Dead. My name's Jeff Skalski, I'm a producer here at Mythic Entertainment, and next to me is
Gabe Amatangelo and Counter-Strike team lead, and we're going to be talking about the Tomb of the Vulture Lord, the Pyramid, the group instance.
Yes, no hold barred. We're going to show talk about everything.
Most everything.
Well, yeah, mostly everything.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about every single boss fight. That's part of the fun, figuring it out, and the traps and all that stuff.
That's true.
But we're going to talk about each of the different sort of aspects of it for sure.
All right, Gabe, so let's give the players a recap of kind of the highlights of the Tomb of the Vulture Lord.
Like the scope.
The size.
Yeah. It's a group instance, so 6 players. There's 8 different boss fights, 7 different public quests, or group quests, if you will. There's various different traps and different encounters throughout. Now, the theme and the feeling of all the action inside are like action RPG. We channeled Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, Zelda, God of War, sort of a console-esque feel throughout it. And it's level 40. It's level 40 to get in. It's an end game dungeon.
All right, Gabe, let's talk about the traps in the tomb, because they're just completely different. I love them every time I experience them as a player, and I'm really curious to see how the players are going to kind of work with them. Just
taking some of the good bits out of action RPG and really injecting it into the MMO dungeon crawl experience here. There's various different traps throughout the instance, throughout the pyramid. The first one, we can talk about the first one.
Yeah, let's talk about
the trailer and stuff.
Yeah.
Pendulum traps. Yeah. Pendulums swinging back and forth. Yeah, you got to see the pattern, you got to dodge, you got to get through it, and at the end of the pendulum trap, there's 3 levers. It's a group instance, so you have 6 people, so at least 3 have to get past it to then flip the lever to turn it off. But that's not the last you'll see of the trap. We'll use it again in RVR in some interesting and fun ways.
So you definitely got my attention with the console-esque boss fights. So can you kind of dive in a little bit with that and give the players kind of a sneak peek at one of the encounters?
Yeah, definitely. Part of the fun is discovering these different boss fights, so I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah, of course.
But one I'll talk about is one that we really leverage the theme I was talking about. The sort of Temple of Doom pyramid. What is that setting without a cursed treasury? And you have a timer before the guardian of this treasury comes to life. And you're able to just grab all the treasure and loot from the different chests and drawers and piles throughout. Once that timer is up, then the guardian comes down and he's to life. And he's an awesome looking boss monster. But he's kind of like a bull type of fight. He will charge some players, and you got to kind of strafe and get out of the way and dodge, and then he rests after his charge, and then you got to hit him. So kind of a skill check there, skill dynamic going on. But at the same time, some of these different weapons and cursed items within the treasury start to come to life. Arrows start shooting, and swords start spinning around. So a lot going on there, very sort of dynamic setting, leveraging the theme and the console-esque type of feel.
Okay, so one quick question. In the beginning of that PQ, when I'm kind of scavenging all this treasure and this loot up, do I get to keep that when I beat the PQ?
Once you beat the PQ, the curse is lifted. So you're able to leave with that stuff.
So I grab 2 weapons, or whatever, I will get 2 items.
You'll get 2 items.
Awesome.
It'll turn into BOE. BOE. Bind on equip, as opposed to bind on pickup items.
Oh, gotcha. Very cool.
So you can trade with your buddies.
Yep, excellent. Let's dive into the purge mechanic.
Yeah.
So let's talk about kind of some of the situations players might be when they're actually venturing through the tomb and then all of a sudden their realm loses control of the land.
Absolutely. So recapping a little bit, how it works is that one realm has control of the dungeon. When you have control of the dungeon, you're able to respawn in the dungeon. When you don't, you're no longer able to respawn, but it doesn't mean you're kicked out. You're still there. But once you die and hit respawn, you're going back to your city. So make sure to keep your healers around and have your tactics ready. Now, of course, there is no place to hide in the dungeon, not even the instances. You can chase players into instances. When you hit an instant zone wall, whether it be the pyramid or any of the layers we talked about in the other podcast, you'll get a prompt that'll say, hey, do you want to invade an enemy instance or do you want to start a new instance of your own? You invade an enemy instance. Once you get into that instance, an objective pops up, purge all the players, like kill all the players that are in there. And for the defenders, it's defend, survive for X minutes. But of course, you invading the instance, your realm owns the dungeon, because you can only invade instances when your realm owns the dungeon. You have the ability to respawn in the instance, whereas they don't. So it's definitely slanted towards the invaders on that end. But if you're awesome, if you're an awesome player, and you're able to survive this defense, there are awesome tome unlocks and elite titles that you can get. Now, you'll get an announcement when enemies come in. It's like, oh, enemies are purging, announcement, you're in the middle of a boss fight, go flip on those traps, put them back in these trash halls.
So I'm going to add one question, which you're probably about to dive into it now, because this is a question we hear a lot, actually, from the players and from internal devs and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be in a dungeon. I could be, you know, destruction. I could be invading a dungeon that's owned by Order, and then they're fighting a boss. Can we group up and fight the boss together?
Absolutely not.
Oh,
absolutely.
I mean, I know the answer.
Oh, come on now. Yeah, so no cooperative dungeon crawling. I mean, it's a 6-man instance, and it's 6 people that can invade. Once 2 different realms get on a monster's hate list, he no longer drops loot, and he no longer issues timestamps either. So basically, when that's happening, it's a dynamic of your group fighting that group, and the monsters involved, you know, trying to shift off aggro on the other group, or whatever the tricks of the trade. Really dynamic sort of RVR fighting situations that can happen there. But ultimately, you want to reset that boss and get those guys back to their respawn point, so then you get another try at him.
Very cool. So wait, Gabe, I got a quick question. So, talking about purging enemy instances, what if I have a lockout on an instance?
Oh, yeah, no, good point. I want to bring that one up. If you have lockouts, if you've killed everything in the Tomb of the Vulture Lord, and you want to invade an enemy instance, that's fine. It doesn't account for lockouts, because you're not killing the boss monsters in there. You're killing the players.
So I can
It's a whole different... It's a 6v6 player environment.
So I can purge to my heart's content.
You can purge to your heart's content, as long as there's enemy instances up, yes.
Okay. And probably, you know, it's probably worth mentioning to the players about some of the tweaks we're doing to lockout timers.
Absolutely. So the hallelujah music again. You can, if you have, you know, if you've killed bosses 1 through 4, and, you know, dude that was rolling with you the night before decides not to show up or call, you can sub in your buddy who hasn't killed any of the bosses, or has killed boss 1, or has killed boss 1 and 2, or 1 and 3. So you can sub in anyone with the same progress, or any tier less of the progress with the lockouts, yes.
Great. That'll make it a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
Doing those Lost Veil runs. All right, Gabe, let's talk about the progressions for the Tomb of the Vulture Lord.
Yes.
What kind of loot can I expect as a player? You know, are there wards to get into this tomb? Tell everybody.
Go for it. All right. It's level 40 requirement. It's an end game thing. It is the same kind of wards that are needed to get into Lost Veil, needed for the Tomb of the Vulture Lord, the Pyramid. Talking about wards, our whole ward system is changing. It's getting revamped into this sigil system. Now, what that means is that as you unlock these different sigil fragments via acquiring, like, the Dark Promise chest piece, it'll be in your Tome of Knowledge. You don't have to wear the Dark Promise chest piece. You have it. It's a property on your character. So you can be completely naked, not wear anything, and you still have those wards. So you can min-max, wear whatever armor pieces you want, and you're not restricted to those specific sets. That being said, there's also alternate ways.
Okay.
If you're not so lucky to get that Dark Promise chest piece, or the Invader chest piece, or what have you, if you kill the Keeper's Secret X number of times, that will also unlock that fragment.
Yeah.
And there's also RVR ways to go about it.
Which, you know, even if you're just hardcore RVR, don't do any PvE in the game, you can actually unlock these wards and get these sigil pieces just through doing RVR tasks. And all this will be listed out to you in your tome. So you could kill X amount of players who are above a certain renown rank, capture zones, purge instances.
Invade instances, yeah.
So we are extremely excited about this.
We're happy to get out in 1.3 with the release of the dungeon.
Yeah. All right, Gabe. So before we roll out, let's tease the players a little bit about the event that happens after you beat the final encounter in the Tomb of the Vulture Lord.
The encore event.
Yes.
All right. So after you beat the Tomb King, he'll curse you, and he'll say, "I'm going to visit my wrath upon you again soon. I'm undead. I'll be undead again real soon."
Of course.
And as you're leaving the pyramid, an epic event will happen when you leave, when you're outside in the necropolis. The non-instance area.
Exactly. That's a key point to call out. That's a non-instanced area.
And we really sort of channeled the theme and the action, RPG, kind of dogma of this dungeon and the console feel for this epic event. And you might catch a glimpse of it in the trailer.
Yep.
So it's going to be fun. I can't wait to play it myself.
It's going to be a great summer, no doubt about that. So with that, we will see you guys on another Mythic Production podcast. Take care. See you in the tomb.